Viva España! Ole!
Hola. All right. We are going to Spain right now. Thank you so much for joining us in our annual Tour Guide Summit. We're having so much fun today. We do this every year. We've done it for 25 years or something, but this is the first time really we're streaming it all over the country. We've got thousands of people joining us online, so thank you for joining us streaming, and thank you all for being here in person. This is Rick Steves' Europe Through the Back Door, and every year we take thousands of people to Europe. This year was our best year ever. We took 600 groups around Europe, 16,000 people, and for me the best statistic is half of those people were return customers. We're so thankful for your business, and we want you to go with us again. So that's what we're doing. This annual summit has gone back way back to when I was the only tour guide, and we'd get together for a potluck and share our photographs and everything when everybody lived in the Seattle area. And now obviously we got people from all over the United States and Canada joining us on our tours, and we invite people to come in. We got 2,000 people here today celebrating 4 different parties just down the street at our alumni parties. We flew in over 100 guides from all over Europe to join us and celebrate this way. A lot of our bus drivers flew in as well. And while we have our guides in town, we like to take advantage of this opportunity to have a week-long series of brainstorming sessions where we get down, just our Spain guides, just our France guides, just our Ireland guides, and debate and share and hammer out those itineraries. So we have for you the very best possible itineraries for next time around. Your time is very important. We Americans have the shortest vacations in the rich world. We want to use every minute smartly. And of course, it's expensive to travel, and we want to bring you the best value possible. And we couldn't do that without good itineraries, without a lot of lessons from experience. I always tell each group, if I did these tours for 25 years, I would always say, you're a guinea pig for all the future tours, and you're the beneficiary of all the guinea pigs who came before you, as these tours are a work in progress. So that's what we do each year, and we're in the middle of that today. Also, as our guides are in town, we thought, hey, we got to sell tours too. So we put together this thing called Test Drive a Tour Guide, where we've booked out the 3 big venues in town, and we've got about 15 or 20 different talks all day long, 1 hour, hitting just the itineraries with our lead guides, sharing advice and insights into these trips. Whether you're going on your own or whether you're going to take one of our tours, we hope this hour gives you a good insight in how to get the most out of that region. And right now, we're talking about Spain. So I'm not normally used to being on schedule because we're streaming, and this has got to go like clockwork all day long. So we're starting right now, and in about 57 minutes, we're going to be done, okay? And I've got 400 people waiting for me at the Italy party down the street, so I'm going to run down there. But you've got the handout that you picked up as you came in, or if you're viewing online, you can see our whole schedule on our website, but you can see all the events coming up yet today. I do want to remind you that here tonight, the last event of the day is one of my favorites, and that's a talk that I give called An Irreverent History of Europe Through the Back Door. And it's just a chance with all of our alums and tour guides in town for me to pull out some very, very old slides and talk about how Europe Through the Back Door grew over the years, way, way back to the days when it was Europe Through the Gutter, and eventually matured into Europe Through the Back Door. So if I could just see, I'm just curious who came from where and so on. So it's so great to have you here at our Arts Center. How many of you have taken one of our tours before? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, so that's great. So a lot of you are thinking about another tour. How many of you have taken more than one of our tour? Can I see a show of hands? At our parties, every time we thank the people for traveling with us again, and we just give out a special prize for somebody who's been on the most trips. Just a few minutes ago, I gave away one of our roller suitcases to the person who had done the most tours in that particular party, and that person had taken 14 of our tours. which really is amazing to me. But just 2 weeks ago, we got a sign up from somebody who's actually taken 25 of our tours. So there are some people out there with not a lot to do, I'll tell you. And we have this very innovative cumulative discount where it adds up every year, and I think we've made we've stopped making money off of those people, because after so long, you get a nice discount out of that. So thank you very much for your return patronage, and we value that, and we know you have high expectations, and we're doing what we can to not only meet them but to exceed them. How many of you have traveled from out of state for this event today? Thank you very much for coming all this way. We hope you enjoy your time. Just a little bit of housekeeping. As you came in, you picked up, did you pick up the Spain DVD as you came in? No. Okay. We're talking Spain, and we're going to give you the DVD. So I just wanted to be sure, as you came in, you recognize that we've got some nice little freebies here. This is our Viva España DVD, and as a TV producer, it's so much fun to be able to put these together. 8 TV shows, 4 hours in one disc, and because some people like really high-quality TV, there's also a Blu-ray disc in here that has the same thing in super high quality. 2 discs for the same thing, and that's just yours for free. As you leave, please stop by the desk out there and grab the Viva España disc and the package, and that will give you pretty much everything we talk about today in beautiful public television quality. Also, we've got some extra copies of this book that we produced as a thank you for people supporting us in public television, Hidden Europe, and we're just giving these away. This is a 300-page collection of my favorite offbeat attractions from top to bottom in Europe. These are the top 15 hidden discoveries in Europe, with the chapters from those books all collected in here. And it's yours, just 1 per traveling family free, but grab them. Please, 1 per traveling family. Grab it on your way out. Also, we've got this newsletter, which explains all the things we do with my 100 workmates at Europe Through the Back Door here. And this is the catalog that explains our tour program. And today we're going to be talking about the Spain tour primarily. And you'll find that in this booklet. And in here is also a DVD, which is basically an hour of a virtual 1-hour front row seat on our tours, giving you a very candid and straight look at what our tours are like. It's really important for us to get the right people on board, not just fill up the tours, but make sure it's filled up with people who know what they're getting. A lot of people watch this TV and they shake their heads and they go, whoa, that's not for me. It's almost like you're trying to scare away the high-maintenance travelers. And we say, yeah, that's exactly what this DVD is for. Yes. So we want to be sure that we get the right people on board, and we do that with that DVD, so you know what you're getting into. It's a huge investment of time and money to go on a tour with somebody, and we know that that's a big leap of faith, and we don't want to mislead anybody. For the right people, it's the right tour, and for some people, there are other tour companies that do a better job. Now, much as I'm going to be motor-mouthing through this because we only have an hour, I want to remind you when this talk is done at 3:15, we're going to have our guides do a little interview here for our streaming audience, and then they're going to go down to the Tour Cantina, it's called. It's just a couple blocks down the street where the big parties are, and that's where the heavy sales is going on. If you're curious about a tour, that's where you go, and you get the finest munchies and drinks and so on, and you get a chance to sit down and talk with the guides and anything about Spain, whether you're taking a tour or not. If you're just curious about Spain, that's where you can go and talk with our guides. And I want to remind you, as soon as this talk is done at 3:15, we need to clear this out because we've got another group coming in, and we've got that streaming schedule going all day long. So you've got a chance to hang out in the lobby, you've got a chance to go down the street. I do want to remind you, our travel center is open all day until 7 o'clock. Everything is 20% off, and if you're viewing online, if you've got the little access code, and you can get a 20% discount on anything that we've got going in our company here at Europe Through the Back Door. So I think that's the housekeeping information, and I do want to take just a moment here to welcome our guides, and we've got lots of Spain guides that are here today, but we've just invited 3 to join us. There's Javier Menor from Madrid, Federico Garcia Barroso from Madrid, and Francisco Glaria from Pamplona, where that's the gateway to Basque Country. And I'd love it if each of you guys could just take a moment and just introduce yourself and say where you're from and what you're all about.
Hola.
Hola.
Buenas tardes. First Spanish lesson. I'm Javier, and I live in Madrid, and I guide a couple of the tours that we have going on in Spain.
Here's a shy one, you know. Hola, amigos, amigas. My name is Federico. I am a guide in Madrid City, That's my city, that's my place, and I guide you, Americans and Canadians, all over Spain, basically Madrid and Barcelona, both cities. And I occasionally go to the Basque Country also.
So hello, I'm Francisco. I'm from the Basque Country, which is kind of a part of the north of Spain. I come from the Pamplona. Maybe you know Pamplona is the city of the running of the bulls. Yes, we're crazy people. You can say it up front, I'll take it. So anyway, the Basque Country is a tiny little part of the Spanish kingdom.
Okay, and we'll talk more with our guides in a moment, but I want to kind of take a few moments and go through some of this information on our slideshow. And I believe I'm on here. There we go. If you look at our map, this is the Europe tour map, and we've got 35 different itineraries. It's quite a pile of spaghetti, really. And we're looking at Iberian Peninsula here. We've got, I'll show you the itineraries later, but there's Barcelona, Madrid, there's the Best of Spain, and there's Basque Country. And if we look at our Best of Spain tour, we start in Barcelona, and we finish in Sevilla. We'll be talking about that specifically in the next 45 minutes. Everybody who takes our tour gets the latest guidebook, and this is an important part of the program because your guide orients you, but you've got the information so you can do your own thing. Small groups, centrally located hotels, guides that are enthusiastic about your independence, as well as the efficiency of taking you where everybody would want to go together. So you've got the Spain book and you've got the Spanish phrase book. We've got the Barcelona, Madrid with a side trip to Toledo trip, and that's a beautiful 1-week opportunity. And then we've got the Basque Country tour, which would be 7 or 8 days, and we've got the Best of Spain tour that I talked about a moment ago. If I could just, before I move on, Francisco, can you just walk us through the Basque itinerary? We're not talking specifically about the Basque itinerary now, but it is a delight, and if you like Spain, you might want to be mindful of what is going on in Basque split between France and Spain. Francisco.
Well, as you said, one of the fun things of the Basque Country is that it's having the Basque Country in France and the other half in Spain. So we're there. We don't know if we're Spanish or French. What we know is we're Basque. The tour starts in Bayonne, all the way in France, and we have some side trips. We go to Saint Juan de Pied-de-Port, which is, maybe you have heard of a movie called The Way, which is talks about the Camino de Santiago, and that is where all the pilgrims start the hiking. So we go to see all the pilgrims. At that moment, they have a beautiful smile. They haven't walked at all, so they're okay. We'll meet them 3 days later, and that smile has faded. Anyway, after that, we go to San Sebastian, one of the most beautiful cities in the Basque Country. In fact, in the book that Rick is handing you about the 15 places about Europe, the only one that is chosen in Spain is San Sebastian, beautiful city. From San Sebastian, we go all the way to Bilbao, and we have a very emotional stop in Guernica, where the Guernica bombing took place in 1937. And we have a beautiful replica of the painting. The original one is the Queen Sofia in Madrid. And it's a very emotional day. In Bilbao, we finish with the Guggenheim Museum, which is probably one of the highlights of the tour.
Very nice. Thank you, Francisco. More specifics, obviously, at ricksteves.com. That's the homepage. You can drill into the tour page and get feedback from people who trusted us last year. I'm committed to keeping the feedback very candid and straightforward. We're not trying to just, slickly get people on board. We want people to know what these tours are about. How were the hotels? How were the meals? How was the guide and the driver? All there from the people who traveled with us last year. Interviews with our guides, video clips. Francisco helped me film with my crew the running of the bulls in Pamplona. One of the most exciting things I've ever had the pleasure of filming, and without Francisco's help, we would have been blinking and the bulls would have been gone, but we knew just how to enjoy that.
Just one thing, it was fun for him. For me, it was a big stress. Imagine 2 million people, kind of tipsy, that's to say drunk, and Rick Steve in the middle trying to film anything. Comes, hi, I'm Rick Steve. Oh my God, it's Rick Steve. Cut. Again. Hi, I'm Rick Steve. Oh my God, you're Rick Steve. Cut. Took us, well, imagine.
I had a blast, and thanks to Francisco. Thank you. Just a reminder, I think I mentioned it, but there's $100 off on any tour, whether you're watching online or visiting us now for the next day or so, or a couple of days, if you decide to join up on one of our tours. And just to remind you, our tours, we're committed to small groups, guides that really know how to teach, committed to teaching, groups 24 to 28 people, family-run, small hotels, wonderful restaurants, no extras. All the tippings included, all the sightseeing's included, no kickbacks on shopping. Your guide is paid up front, and then he's on your side from beginning to end. That is fundamental. I'm proud of that. That's why I started our program 30 years ago, is because I wanted our guides to be paid up front rather than having to figure out how to make money off of you over the course of your vacation. And one thing I can't really advertise that I think is very important, we attract a great kind of people to travel with. I take one of our tours every year, and I just love the gang that joins us. This looks like one of our tour reunions right here, and these are the kind of people that join us on our tours. They're fun to get to know along the trip. If you want to know more, please look at the video. You can see it online, or you can see it in our promotional material, and we've got a lot of TV shows we've done on Spain with the help of our guides, like the guys sitting here right now. All of our guides are in town today, all this week, and we're doing all of this brainstorming, and I get the delight of running into people like Federico when I'm in Spain. If I'm researching on the guidebooks, these guys help us out, and I get to see them really commanding their groups in such a beautiful, it seems effortless kind of way, giving people a great experience. Federico and Javier, this is our best of Spain in 2 weeks or something like that. Let's see, I think we'll start with Federico, because your specialty is Barcelona and Madrid. And Federico, I'll let you explain for the Best of Spain tour, the first half of the tour until Toledo, and then Javier, why don't you take us through La Mancha into the end, okay?
Okay. So this is what we do. This is a wonderful tour. Well, what I'm going to tell you right now about these two cities, Barcelona and Madrid, the two main cities in Madrid. Madrid, the capital of Spain, and the second city, Barcelona. We start in Barcelona. Everyone knows something about the magic of Barcelona and that unique architecture by Gaudí. And that is actually where we visit in Barcelona, and of course also Picasso's museum, the Old Town, the Gothic Quarter, and we enjoy good food in Barcelona and Madrid. This is a wonderful tour to enjoy the highlights of those two big cities. And let me also tell you that we have that high-speed train called AVE, which means Alta Velocidad Española, Spanish high speed, and that word means also actually bird, because those trains really fly. We have a good highway to go from Barcelona to Madrid. We need to drive for 8 hours, but that train is taking you in just 3 hours. Let me tell you, and this is not national pride, Spain has right now the most modern fleet of high-speed trains in Europe, okay? And the way to prove that and to give you a good service is that, not many people know this, Rick, if the train is delayed, they give you back your money. Okay? So that is a good service, all right? We arrived to Madrid, and then in Madrid, well, Madrid is my city. I really like the words of one of you, I would remember it was actually American or Canadian. He said, okay, tell me something whoa about Spain. He said, well, I actually enjoy very much the beauty of Madrid versus the overrated Barcelona, he said, you know? That's what he said. I like that, okay, personally. But the thing in Madrid, we find it's a very elegant city, and if you just love art, you just have to go there and to go to the Prado Museum, which is one of the best museums in the world. When we talk about classical age, there we are, the guides, ready to guide you and to show you all those masterpieces, you know, El Greco, Velázquez, Goya, and of course, Sofia Museum, where we find Picasso's masterpiece, because Picasso was the curator of the Prado Museum, and he gave us that amazing legacy, Guernica, which is telling you many things about the Spanish Civil War in northern Spain. We also take time to go to those picturesque towns located in the outskirts of Madrid, Segovia, where we see that outstanding and an awesome Roman aqueduct, which is it is right there as it was, you know, for ages, and we enjoy Segovia, eating good suckling pig or roasted baby lamb. And then we go to Toledo, the city of coexistence, you know, the most cosmopolitan city 500 years ago, where Jews, Muslims, and Christians, they lived in perfect harmony before the arrival of Isabella and Ferdinand, the Catholic monarchy, you see. And then it's time to go to southern Spain, crossing the La Mancha, the land of Don Quixote and his friend Sancho, and to see those beautiful windmills, and then we enter Andalusia, southern Spain.
And now it's my turn. Everybody knows a little bit of the story of Don Quixote, Don Quixote. So we're going to be seeing those windmills Don Quixote once fought in the book. And we're heading south. Right where the arrow between Toledo and Granada is, that is where the plateau ends, the tablelands. And there is a drop, and we enter Andalusia. Driving through the olive oil country, Spain, depending on the year, depending on the harvest, can produce up to 40% of the world's olive oil. And only in that region where the laser is right now, we produce up to 15% of that product worldwide, world production. And then we get to Granada. Maybe you've seen pictures, maybe you've seen videos of the Alhambra Palace, the Moorish Palace, which is one of the most visited sites we have in Spain, among with Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, and that is just mouth-dropping. And even if the palace is nice, it's even better the dinner we offer in the hill across the Alhambra Palace. That is a really nice venue we offer there. Then small towns are waiting for us. Ronda, for whom the bells toll. Remember that? Part of that book takes place in Granada. The whitewashed towns, that is up the hills, the small towns, limewashed walls, Arcos, is in a spectacular location, and we end up in Sevilla. And Sevilla is where the topics of Spain meet together.
That's nice, where the topics of Spain meet together. We've got a lot of Spain to see here. I do want to remind you there is a My Way version of this, essentially the same itinerary, a lot less expensive without a guide. And what we do is we want to have people have the option of having free time, use the guidebook, you get the same bus and hotels and all that, but you have an escort from our office, and then just the information, so you may want to do it on your own. Now, when we start in Barcelona, Barcelona is the capital of Catalonia, and it's so exciting these days in Europe because the different regions are waving their flags, and now Catalonians can teach their children their language first, and Spanish as a second language. Catalonian is taught in school, people are waving their flag, and there's a sort of a power going on, I mean, just an energy in Catalonia, which is really exciting. When you do fly in, it's very easy to get from the airport to the main square, Plaza Catalunya, and our hotel would be within an easy walk of Plaza Catalunya. Here's Federico again, and this is, you know, this is kind of the system. You've got your guide who really knows the lay of the land, and you've got your group following and getting the most out of your time as you orient and disperse. You'll use the subway, you'll use the buses. Here we escalate up to the top of the Ramblas, and then you got one of the most exciting pedestrian zones in all of Europe, the Ramblas and neighboring streets, where you've got this river of Spanish life going right down to the Mediterranean and the Ramblas of the Mar. And at the cathedral, we've got this Sardana dance. Every Sunday after Mass, the traditionalists get together and they do their sacred Catalonian circle dance. You would have been locked up if you did that a generation ago. Today, you can celebrate your Catalonian spirit, and Catalonians are doing that with gusto. And with your guide, whether you take the Barcelona-Madrid tour or if you do the all-Spain tour, you're going to really understand the differences in Spain of the regions. If you go into a Subway sandwich shop in Madrid, you're very likely to find 4 languages on the menu, and they're all Spanish menus. Or they're all Spanish languages. Spanish, Catalonian, Galician for northwestern Spain, and Basque. And this is something a lot of us don't realize, is that we see Spain as one country, but like any country in Europe, it's got a lot of regional pride and diversity. In all of these cities, you'll have great opportunities to go into the bars and eat ugly things on toothpicks, wash it down with local wine, and that's a tapas meal. And in each of the cities, you've got a great market. I love the market in Barcelona, where you can go in and meet some of our friends. And you can imagine in our work, they're in the book, you know, we visit them every couple of weeks with our tours. We've got these characters and these friends that meet us in the market. And when I go to the Boqueria in Barcelona, I always drop in to see my friend Juan, and he's in the book now, so he's very proud of that.
Pinocchio.
And, what's that?
Pinocchio. Pinocho.
What's that?
Pinocchio, because of his nose. That's how.
Oh, that's his nickname,
yeah,
Pinocchio.
That's how it's called.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yes, and we can just have some fun with him. Our guides mentioned the art of Gaudí, Antonio Gaudí, and I've been coming here for 30 years. And this Sagrada Familia is actually now it is consecrated, and they're celebrating Mass in this church, and it's still a work in progress, but it is coming along. And you'll go in there, and you'll be able to understand this Art Nouveau of Catalan people. And it's just, what did he call it? Mouth dropping. Mouth dropping. We would say jaw dropping, but I get the idea, you know? It is mind-blowing at the same time, this Gaudí art. And there's lots of Gaudí you can see when you are in Barcelona, the hometown of Modernisme. Then we take the bullet train into Madrid, and our hotel is right downtown, and this is the main square in Madrid. In fact, this is looking out of the window of my hotel room last time I was there onto Puerta del Sol, the hub of Madrid. And from there, it's an easy walk, or you can have the bus, or you can hop in a taxi and get on down to the Royal Palace. Well worth touring, remembering that the Spanish king or emperor was, for a time, the most powerful guy in all of Europe. And Spain, it was in a time when a few families run all of Europe. You got this great power center there. Consequently, you've got a museum, the Prado, with some of the greatest paintings in all of Europe. Not just Spanish paintings, but paintings from all over. After all, back then, the Netherlands was called the Spanish Netherlands, and a lot of the best art from the Spanish Netherlands ended up in Madrid, like the great masterpieces by Hieronymus Bosch. You'll be able to see that. You'll be able to see the great work of Goya. You'll be able to understand the political sensibilities of painters like Goya as Spain was confronting the Napoleonic army and so on. And then you'll go to the neighboring museum and you can see the masterpiece, what could be the single piece of art that represents Europe, I think, in the 20th century, Guernica, the masterpiece by Picasso, talking about the reality of collateral damage, how there's a lot of innocent victims when the country goes to war. And that certainly was the case in Guernica up in Basque country. We're not going to take you to a bullfight, but if you want to go to a bullfight, that is something that's an option, and there's plenty of great arenas. And if you're not going to go actually to a bullfight, I would recommend going to a bull bar. You'll find bars all over town, and for the cost of a little glass of wine, about $1 or $2, you can hang out there and you can enjoy all these losers from the bullfight, okay? And they're not just the bull that's the losers. The photographs in this bar are all of the people who have ever met a very bloody finish on the arena, and it's not a slam dunk for the Matador, I'll tell you that. There's a lot of powerful culture right there, and you can even have a little bit of bull tail if you are so inclined. One thing I like about Spanish cuisine is the tapa scene. Spain is really getting into gourmet tapas, and every region of Spain is represented in the different tapas bars, and your guide will explain to you as you walk around town where you might want to go for your tapas. You can eat, but in Spain when you eat it's quite late, or you can go to the tapas bars any old time. And your guide will tell you, because your guide is thinking like an independent traveler, when you go to the bar, order a drink alone without ordering the food, because then they will give you the free tapa with the drink. If you order a drink with food, they won't give you the free tapa, you see. So you buy your glass of wine and you expect your little plate, and then you get the little plate, and then you can order some more food. Do you follow me? That's just the little fun things that we think out loud as we're traveling.
We cannot guarantee the tapa.
We cannot guarantee the
Some
tapa.
places offer it and some places don't.
Okay.
But we'll show you the ones that do.
Okay, that's the good thing, okay, because the touristy bars won't give you the tapas, and it's not all across Spain, but with your guide, you'll be able to get these fine points. Because, I mean, imagine you order a glass of wine and you get some beautiful calamari or something with it. That's a nice little snack. Look at the ambience, and imagine the fun of being in a bar like this and having your guide to help sort through the menu and let you enjoy that meal. And you'll have half of your meals included, and half of your meals on your own in the evening. And that means that you're going to be happy to have your guidebook so that you'll know around your hotel where you might want to go for dinner. Here is a couple of our guides, Federico and Amanda, and they're helping me update the guidebook, and that's what they do for their work, is to help our tourists eat their way through Spain. Here's Carlos, another of our friends. What is this? This is a little shish kebab of pickles and so on. There's a name for this, isn't there? What is that, Francisco?
That is called a Gilda. You know Gilda from the movie, Rita Hayworth? Well, she was hot and spicy. This was the first tapa. It's hot and spicy. It's pickles and a little bit of everything.
Is that right?
It's right. This is the first tapa in the Basque Country.
In Basque Country, so that's
It comes
hot
from
and
the Basque
spicy.
Country. It's hot and spicy.
Now,
like Rita Hayworth.
and I heard outside of Basque Country, this is, what's the tasseled...
Banderilla.
Yeah, what is that?
The darts stabbed in the bull's back.
Okay, so you know when you start the bullfight, the darts go into the bull's back that have all of the tassels on them, and this is, it looks like a banderilla. There you go, hot and spicy. Speaking of hot and spicy, Francisco, can you explain pimiento de perro?
Well, we have many types of peppers all around Spain. These are padrón peppers. We say that ones are hot and some others are not hot. So it's like a Russian relay. And it's fun because when we eat them, they're not hot. And always there's a tour member that gets the hot one, and they say, "You knew it was hot." No, we don't know. It's like, it doesn't have a label that says it. It's fun. That was hot.
That was hot. And you cannot get these peppers so beautifully done as you can all over Spain. But they're from a particular region. What region are they special
They're
to?
from Padrón, which is in Galicia.
Galicia.
They're very, very good.
The Northwest, yeah. From Madrid, we go out to Segovia. And Segovia's just got a wonderful street ambiance. It's got, as was mentioned, the Roman aqueduct. Imagine 2,000 years ago, this thing built to bring water into that city. Bad news, you lost to the Romans. Good news, now you have stability and you got running water. So this is the Roman Army Corps of Engineers coming in. And this actually has worked until modern times as a backup system for bringing water into the town when necessary. We've got the castle of Segovia. And we've got roast suckling pig. And there's certain things you just got to experience, and one of these is roast suckling pig. Federico, can you explain the lunch in Segovia, please?
Well, it's actually quite peculiar, when you just go there and you see all those babies. The suckling pig is so tender. The meat is so tender that we don't really use oil. It's just actually the natural oil of the animal and a little bit of salt, just slightly roasted in the oven, and nothing more than that. And also we do the same with the baby lamb, okay? And the way they do it in Segovia, Javier, you actually go much more than me to Segovia. How do they? There's a kind of ceremony about that, about how to prepare
Small
that.
parties never get the ceremony done, but large parties like us, we always get the owner who comes out and performs a little ritual, which is chopping the piglet with a plate to prove that it is so tender that knife is not needed.
So you just cut it with your plate?
No, he does it.
He does it, okay.
Yeah, he does it. And just for the show, we use proper fork and knife.
Okay. But when you have a guide who's got the friends in that town, they know the owner of the restaurant and they pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
So that's quite nice. Quite nice. There's just a fun-loving kind of ambiance on the bus. It's just a great chance for people to be, youthful at whatever age. I mean, I learned a long time ago, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And my groups have taught me age only matters if you're a cheese. And on our tour groups, people are dancing, people are staying out late, you've got your guide, and you've got your home base, and you're comfortable in the town, you're experimenting with the culture, and you've got your bus and your driver and your well-organized group. Remember, you're going to do some walking, so you want to be mobile. Every couple of days, you got to move out of the hotel, and you got to roll your bag or carry your bag to the bus, which will be nearby, and then you're on your way. And the buses are big and comfortable. The bus driver is part of the family, and upstairs, you've got, on average, 2 seats per person. So it's quite roomy and fun and comfortable to stretch out, and we think that's an important part of the way we do our tours. An hour south of Madrid, we get to Toledo, the historic, spiritual, and artistic capital of Spain. Toledo is an amazing place. The tight hairpin turn of the river provided a natural fortification on 3 sides. And then you just build a wall here, and you've got the capital of your country beautifully protected. Well, of course, in modern times, Spain grew so big and important that they had to get a bigger city, and it outgrew that little natural promontory, and it moved 1 hour north to Madrid. But today, Toledo, in a lot of ways, is a time capsule. And to go there and to stay right downtown and to have your guide explain all of this to you is an amazing experience. Toledo is a magnificent city. It's got an incredible cathedral. It's got lots of great art. This was the hometown of El Greco. You can see El Greco's art in situ, where he was hired to paint it. And it's there's nothing like seeing art in the place it was designed to be. From Toledo, we get on our bus and we drive south into olive oil country, into La Mancha, and we'll be able to stop and have a lunch overlooking some of the castles of Castile. And you can think you're hallucinating when you see these big bulls on the horizon, and then you realize it's a billboard to advertise a sherry, isn't it? This is a sherry billboard.
Rick, is that you up on top?
That's me right there, yeah. We don't let our groups climb up to the top of the bull. But it is interesting when you're driving around the countryside. You see these towering bull boards, we call them, and advertising sherry. That was fun TV to do that, I'll tell you. And then you get to Granada. And Granada, we're coming into Andalusia now, and Granada is famous as the last Moorish stronghold. Remember, the Muslims moved in from Africa, the Moors, and they took over in 711. 1,300 years ago. And they took over Spain and Portugal and even got into France. They went as far north as the Loire Valley, the Loire River Valley. And for 700 years, the European Christians were united to push the Moors back into Africa. And the last stronghold was here in Granada. And if you ask a European what happened in 1492, he's probably going to say, not Columbus sailing the ocean blue, but that was the year they finally kicked those Moors back down into Africa. So this is, you're going to go to the last palace of the Moors. Now this is complicated to get into, and we've got your reservation long in advance, so your guide knows how to go right past all the crowds, because we really believe your time is precious, and when you take a tour, you should never stand in line. When you go on your own, it's kind of a scramble, and it's tricky and complicated and frustrating, frankly. But when you take a tour, we've made reservations long in advance. We're insiders, and you go into that palace not only without a wait, but you have an expert to show you around and bring meaning to all the beautiful things you're seeing. Now, across the little valley from the Alhambra, like this view here, you find the Carmens in this medieval labyrinthine, almost Moroccan-feeling quarter, which is really reminiscent of the Moorish civilization. And you're going to stay in these you're going to have dinner in these charming mansions where you're going to get a good dose of the local cuisine. You can walk through the souks, and it feels like you're in Morocco in a lot of ways. Beautiful marketplaces, and then you've got a little bit of the Columbus lore. This is where the Catholic monarchs are buried, Isabel and Ferdinand. This is where Columbus got his marching orders to go on his adventures, and there's a lot of that lore and heritage right there in Granada. When you have free time to wander around Granada, I find it's just very characteristic. It's a wonderful place to find your own little hole-in-the-wall spot for lunch, and then you're driving further into Andalusia. One of my favorite parts of Spain is the little villages of Andalusia. They're called the whitewashed hill towns, the Pueblos Blancos. And we stay at probably the most famous of them, Ronda, which is built on this cliff. And in relatively modern times, they built this bridge to merge the old town and the new town. And today, when we go to Ronda, we find the oldest bull arena in Spain, we find gourmet tapas, and we find a beautiful opportunity to enjoy this whitewashed Andalusian ambiance. Also, we stay in Jerez. Jerez de la Frontera. When you hear a town called something de la Frontera, that means on the frontier. And as I mentioned, for 700 years, the Christian forces were pushing the Muslim forces down, and every time they'd take a place, they'd establish a town, and they'd call it so-and-so on the frontier. And they pushed further, and it's no longer on the frontier, but it still has that name. This is Jerez on the frontier. This is Arcos on the frontier.
Yeah. In Jerez, we go drink, but in Arcos, we go sleep.
Okay, so this is Arcos.
Yeah.
And then we go to Jerez.
Right.
And explain that to me. Explain the charms. Let me see what I've got here. We've got a perch like this where you can enjoy the view from your hill town in Jerez, in Arcos de la Frontera.
That's the hotel we use that is called El Convento. And nuns still live close by, so when we are noisy, the nuns can hear you, can shoot us. And it's on top of the hill, rocky outcrop, and every single room has got that view. And the sunset, that is like around, depending on the time of the year, 7, 8 p.m., when we all meet after an exhausting day of traveling and we share wines and olives and bread and beers. That is one of the best wow moments I have in these
That's
tour.
a magic moment. And they say in Arcos, the people there brag, only we can see the back of the bird as they fly. The birds are flying below them. And we've got that perch there. It's El Convento. We've got monasteries, cloistered nuns all around that are baking things to sell to locals and visitors. All over Andalusia, people are proud of their courtyards. And they leave them with a grill, but open for people to see. And it's sort of like open house time. And with your help of your guide, you can understand that slice of the culture. And these are beautiful courtyards. In every town that you go to in Andalusia, and I've had a history there of 30 years of hanging out with the guys on the bench. And I remember every time I came into Arcos de la Frontera, I would see these guys, and one guy is earning his living as the policeman here, you know, and he just hangs out with his buddies, making sure everything's okay. And I'd come back a couple years later, and he's still there, and he actually knows who I am, and I know him. But this is sort of the wonderful passeggiata, the paseo ambience that you can enjoy in Spain. Before we get to Sevilla, Javier, can you talk about Jerez, both the horses and the sherry that we experienced?
Jerez for us in this tour is a day trip based in Arcos, and that day we visit a horse farm, and we understand what that means for the culture of Spain and mainly Andalusia, and we also visit a winery. We visit a winery. The Jerez is the dry sherry wine, mainly produced in that part of Spain, And we get to see the winery, we get to taste all that, and then we return to Arcos to enjoy a relaxing afternoon.
To go back home in a peaceful town with the wind and the birds and a very nice Spanish culture. And then we head up to, in a lot of ways, one of the great, probably the finale of the itinerary, Sevilla. And Sevilla is just, to me, it's where you feel the spirit of Spain, the sort of, for us tourists, the quintessence of Spain, Andalusia. Sevilla has this soul, and you've got the layers of history. This minaret is now the bell tower of the cathedral. And in so many cases, the cathedral is sitting on a destroyed mosque, which was sitting on a destroyed early Christian church, which was sitting on a destroyed Roman temple, which is probably sitting on a pre-Roman holy spot. So, in this ongoing, clash between cultures, it's just life on this planet, and there's layers. And I always think it's like cultural tectonic plates where Christendom and Islam come together. There's going to be a little friction, but there's also going to be some fascinating culture, great cuisine, great history, great art, and that's what we're going to learn and we're going to gain an appreciation from when we are in southern Spain especially. So here we have the giant cathedral, and we have the Giralda, built as a minaret for a mosque, now serving as a bell tower for a church. Inside we have the tomb of Columbus here in Sevilla, and we have a lot of gold plate.
But only the tomb. We don't know where he is really.
Don't break my heart. We don't know if he's in there.
Well,
That's what I like about Javier. None of this tourist story stuff. It's got to be straight history. Columbus traveled a lot even after death, didn't he?
Exactly.
Can you tell me a little bit about Columbus's voyage after he died?
Well, the thing is that there is a big enigma about that. We have no clue about that because his son wrote a book called My Father the Foreigner. That is something quite weird, because we have those letters that he wrote at the Indian archives in Seville. They are written in immaculate Castilian language. We also know that he had some Jewish roots, and there was a problem in the times of religious intolerance with the Spanish Inquisition. And supposedly he was born in Genova. Needless to say that if you go to Genova in northern Italy, they will show you that house where he was born. You see? Okay. Let me also tell you that we called in the Spanish language Cristobal Colón, and that is where the verb in English to colonize comes from, Is that
right? I am endlessly, and maybe I just keep forgetting, but that's new to me. Colonize, Colón, Cristobal Colón. Javier.
we colonize, you invade.
Spaniards, all right. And when Spain colonizes, they bring home the loot. Look at this gold. Look at this gold leaf, all just like harvesting in the New World. So we're going to see a little bit of that. In fact, we're going to see the crown jewels, or the treasury, not the crown jewels, but the treasury with incredible precious stones and even pearls. This little angel is made mostly out of one big pearl, and you'll see that when you go into the sacristy of the great church in the shadow of that Giralda. You've got the Alcazar, the Moorish style palace with Christian rulers using the Moorish style. We've got local guides throughout, and this is something I want to stress. Good as your guide is, much as we love our guides, we like different voices. So when we get to Sevilla, we'll have Concepcion or one of her friends take us around who is actually Sevillan. Because you can have a guy from Madrid or a guy from Barcelona or a guy from Pamplona, but when you're in Seville, it's nice to get a person from Sevilla to explain the Seville fair and all of the horses and all of the casetas and all of the fun. And even if you're not there during the April fair, all year long you can enjoy the flamenco culture, especially in Sevilla. And with the help of your guide, you will actually go to a flamenco show. You'll go into the churches and you'll see the floats that they parade through the city during Semana Santa, during Holy Time. This is the Macarena. And can one of you guys talk a little bit about the floats that are so beautifully paraded through Sevilla during Semana Santa?
We have the romantic view of that, the romantic aspect. You are the viewer, you can see these drums, can hear the drums coming, the pasos, the floats coming, but then we have the other side. Imagine that float weighs more than a ton, and you're sharing that weight with 100 more of those porters. That's what happens underneath. Pretty much. you should be holding the one that is in front of you. Oh, is that right? Yeah. And those people train for the whole year because that is something so serious down south, especially Sevilla, that if it happens that it rains and the float cannot make it out, those people are torn in pieces. They cry. They are getting ready for the whole year for that event.
You know, I've seen the kids practice. We have kids practicing sports and so on the other side of the river, Triana. I've seen the kids practicing for Holy Week, and they've got their coach, and they're carrying around a bed spring from a bed on their backs like this, and there'd be 6 or 8 of them like this marching through town.
And they have to get some pocket money from family or friends to buy a couple of flowers and a lace, and they have to.
There's always stuff going on in these cities, and your guide knows when it's happening. That's what's really cool. I wouldn't know I mean, you know, we can't book all this stuff long in advance, but if something's happening, you won't be oblivious to it. Your guide will know. Little tiny festivals. I mean, who knows what I mean, I'm sure you guys do, but there's festivals all the time. And of course, every night you can see flamenco. And when you're in Sevilla, you will see flamenco. This is the river, and you've got all over Europe. In the United States, we're used to the wrong side of the tracks. That's where the crustiness is. That's where the adventure is. In Europe, it's the wrong side of the river, because it's the river that provided the transportation. So you got the decent side of town, and then you got the poor, crusty, creative, bohemian side of town. And these days, there's a lot of action in Triana, here across the river in Sevilla. And I just love taking our groups, and our guides are enthusiastic about taking our groups over the river into the crusty action and to help us better understand that dimension of that great culture. So what we've done on this itinerary, we started in Barcelona, and then we took the fast train to Madrid, where we meet our bus. We side trip up to Segovia, down to Toledo, across La Mancha, Granada, then over to Ronda, the route of the Pueblos Blancos in southern Andalusia, and then finishing in Sevilla. From here, you can take that bullet train back to Madrid very easily in 3 hours or something like that, or you can fly home from Sevilla, or you could even side trip into the Algarve in the south of Portugal. If you have more time, it's easy to cross into Morocco for a little bit of Morocco, which is quite exciting. We used to offer that in our tours, but we have inability to sell long tours because America has such short vacations. So, you know, when one of our tours is not selling well, I sit down with my staff and they say, we need to cut a couple of days off of it. It's just the American, how much time we can manage to take off. But if you do have more time, this provides a very good, solid foundation for Spain. And from there, you can do more of Spain. You could easily go over to Portugal or even slip down into Morocco. I've been just talking really fast because I wanted to get done in time to let our guides share a little more. We've got about 12 more minutes before we need to call it a day here. And I want to have a little time for questions. But first, I'm going to let each of our guides just compliment or correct what I've just said and explain a little more about the experience that you enjoy offering our travelers when they decide to go to Spain with us. Javier, why don't you go first, please?
I thought we were going to talk about Italy.
Italy, no.
Most of you have been in a tour, so we have this welcome meeting. My welcome meetings, I always promise you at least one wow moment a day. And I think that at the end, I fulfill that promise.
That was very good.
At the end.
That's all I have to say.
Hey, before, Francisco, can you talk a little bit about the Basque tour? Because we didn't do that justice.
Well, the Basque tour, it is a one-week tour. It is a little bit shorter. And the Basque tour, we here all of these tours, Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, all of these places, they have amazing, beautiful monuments. The Basque country, we really don't have big monuments. The biggest monument we have is the Guggenheim Museum, that is new. So the Basque country is more about how you feel, what you feel. It is the pride of being Basque. My flag is this one. Today, I've answered like 100,000 times. What is that flag? Spain? Like, yeah, it's Basque country. The Basque country, it is more about what you feel, how you feel it. You know, it's a very personal thing, very private thing. Our wow moments for a lot of people are like going for tapas. It is walking the Camino. The day of the walk of the Camino is very, very strong. Visiting Guernica, a lot of American people, they know about the Spanish Civil War, about the bombing. But when you are in the village, don't expect a beautiful village because it was bombarded and there's absolutely nothing old. But it is really breathtaking. I always get people crying that day. It's kind of fun, you know. They have all the fun. I get people to cry. It's fun. It's great.
I really like it. There literally are not literally tears all the time, but great emotions. And you're touched on the tour. You're saddened. You gain empathy. You gain an ability to celebrate with people who you never realized were waging struggles that are so heroic and so heartwarming at the same time. There's so much history happening right now. A lot of us forget that, but history is happening now. A lot of people think Spain, a lot of Americans won't even go to Spain because they've heard that the economic crisis is making it really chaotic and the sky is falling. It just occurred to me right now I should mention something about the economic crisis in Spain because it's really not a concern of us in tourism. I've found over the last 30 years that tourism is a real blessing for a lot of countries that have their economic struggles, and tourism is one thing that is resilient. You see, tourism can be thriving even when construction is catastrophic. And when you go as a tourist, you'll be in the comfortable zones, you'll be eating in restaurants that you'll find are really thriving, and you'll wonder when you're in the middle of Spain, what crisis? Well, if you're a worker in some nondescript town trying to get a decent retirement, it's a real crisis. But if you're a tourist going to Spain with a good guide, celebrating all this history, enjoying all this cuisine, enjoying all of this festive sort of exuberance, you'd forget that there is a crisis. Is there anything to say, Federico, about the crisis in Spain?
Well, no, first I just want to say that I usually go to the Basque Country because that is the place where men are real men and women are as well, okay? That is something, that is one of the reasons why I go to the Basque Country, okay?
My wife didn't listen to this, okay? She'll kill you, Federico. Don't come to my home anymore.
Nobody ever faulted us for having tour guides that were not politically correct, okay?
No, you know, we are not actually the right people to talk about economical crisis because we work in tourism industry and we don't really see that crisis. I mean, we just see Americans and Canadians traveling all over Spain, you see. And I can say that, well, the situation is actually not good, but it's not really bad. I mean, when you are the witnesses, you are the ones that will go to Spain, and after being there for 1 week, you will tell us, where is the crisis? When you just see people going out everywhere, spending money everywhere, you know. I guess, and I assume, that the economic crisis is more obvious, you know, in those small villages, small towns. You know, we live in big cities where we see locals and foreigners just moving around and spending money everywhere. Something also that I want to add, Rick, is that you were saying something special about this company. I know you from a long time ago, and I've been working for several companies. And the first time that I met you, I thought, well, this is another American company. And that is not good, and that is not bad. It's just that we tour guides, we have our stereotypes about Japanese companies, Latin American companies, Scandinavian companies. And then I discovered that this is different. I feel really comfortable in this company. This is the best combination, as far as I know, between what we call group activities and free time. And your travelers love that. And logistically, we tour guides and travelers, we feel really, really comfortable in this company.
Great, thank you. And not all tour guides would like our style of travel because we believe in, as you guys know, paying up front, and then you don't have an opportunity to cleverly angle for kickbacks and all this sort of thing. So we like the straightforward approach, and our guides are teachers more than salesmen. And for me, as far as a traveler, I think that's a very nice straightforward approach to go. We got about 5 more minutes, and if I would just like to open it up for questions for our guides. Yeah. That's right. I know. I don't talk about Valencia or Alicante or a lot of great places. In my guidebooks, I just figure, for me, in my experience, I've been to most of these places, and they're very nice, but I have to make the cut for what is the best month that I believe that country has to offer. And in my opinion, the best month in Spain is covered in my guidebook. And if you had 33 days, maybe Valencia would be good. But I would rather you spend the month in where I've covered. Having said that, of course, people would differ with me. And I've had some really good debates on people who think Valencia should be right there. Valencia is lovely, yeah. Okay, you're one of them. But I don't claim to cover Spain thoroughly. I've got what I think is the highlights of Spain, and it's hard to cut through all the superlatives, and I wish Americans had a longer vacation. Any comments or questions? Yeah.
Regarding independent travel in other areas of Spain and the crisis, as a tourist, what can we expect to find, and what would be the local reaction to being a tourist?
So being a tourist in other parts of Spain that are not so fortunate to be booming because of tourism. I mean, you go to Granada and you can't get into the restaurants. There's so many people there. So let's say you venture off the beaten path and you just go to an industrial city in Spain. How would you be received and how would you experience the crisis?
How you could be received has nothing to do with the crisis. You will be a stranger in a new town, and if it's totally off the beaten track, you will really be a stranger. But I think that Spaniards are always known as nice people who are easy to deal with. So you only have to go to the local bar, get a glass of wine, and the locals will start approaching you like, you're new in this town. And we're a really friendly country in that aspect, so no problems at all.
I think that sounds fair. I think you can go anywhere these days, crises are known, and get a warm welcome. Any other comments or questions? Yes? Francisco, the question is, we just do a little tiny bit of the Camino de Santiago with our Basque tour. Do we recommend other people to do longer ones? Of course, the Camino de Santiago is the 30-day hike from the Pyrenees Mountains, where France and Spain come together, all the way to the northwest tip of Spain, Santiago de Compostela. It's an amazing experience. It's not our kind of travel because we're kind of high-powered, get on the bus, do this, do that. And the whole idea of the Camino is to find yourself, to be alone in the wilds of northern Spain and hiking and communing with nature and all that sort of a spiritual quest and everything. But I'll let Francisco talk more about the Camino.
Well, as he said, the Camino de Santiago, it's a very personal thing. The Camino, you can do it 4 ways. You can hike it, you can horseback ride it, you can bike it, or you can do it by bus. The real thing, it is hiking. You need 32 days, more or less, to do all the Camino. It's 600 miles of tiny little walk. Last year, over 100,000 people did it. So there's 100,000 crazy people in the world every single year. The thing is that once they do it, people want to do it again. People do it again and again and again. They've done it 4, 5, 6 times. And there are many companies. Just check on internet.
And I wouldn't take a company on the Camino, frankly. I've seen lots of it. We've filmed it. I've talked to a lot of people. I've interviewed people on my radio show. It's a personal thing. It's cheap, it takes a long time, you're going to wear out shoes, it's taking you out of your comfort zone, and it's just very powerful. The Camino de Santiago is worth looking into, but it's not a tour, and it's certainly nothing I would want to organize in a tour guide kind of way. It's the opposite of group tourism. Anything else out here? Any other questions? Yeah? Okay, she's asking about Tangier, which is a fascinating city in Morocco, just an hour and a half across from Gibraltar. Plenty of boats, and if we had 3 more days in the tour, we would include it, as we did in past years. On this tour, there's no way you could break away and do it within the constraints of the tour. But it finishes in Sevilla, and from Sevilla, you could very easily take the bus or train or whatever down to Tarifa. And from Tarifa, you wouldn't want to go to Gibraltar, you go to Tarifa, and that's where you find the ferries going across to Tangier. It's covered in the Spain book you get with the tour, and it's a beautiful couple of days if you can do that. I'd highly recommend it. Any other questions? We just got another minute or 2, yep. Well, remember, Spain is a lip, a hill, and then a high plateau. It's shaped like an upside down cereal bowl, kind of. And it is brutally hot in the summer. I've noticed in southern Spain, they even have shade draped over the streets, so people can manage to be outside in the summer. People still go there in the summer. I was just there in the summer, but it's much more comfortable in the spring and the fall. Now, when you go up into Galicia, up in the north, into Basque Country, especially Galicia, you find the stones are green with moss, and it feels more like Ireland. And it can be surprisingly cool and wet in the northwest of Spain. But everywhere on our itinerary, it's pretty much what you'd expect in Spain. In the spring and fall, it can be cold, especially in the high altitude in the interior. Okay? Any other comments there or questions? One more question, yeah. To Montserrat. Federico, what about Montserrat?
Montserrat is actually a religious and a political icon of Catalan society. it's not only about the monastery where the Black Madonna is located, it's about the geographical enclave, what it is, which is actually breathtaking. It's something quite easy to do. We have actually one monastery located in the outskirts of Barcelona called Montserrat, and another one in the outskirts of Madrid called Escorial, and those are quite reachable. 1 hour to go, 2 hours to stay, 1 hour to come back.
Now, we don't have time to go to Montserrat on the Best of Spain tour. Do we do it on the Barcelona-Madrid?
We manage to give it a little bit of time in that Barcelona-Madrid tour. We have time. There is actually Tuesday afternoon. We give that chance to you, and you can go to Montserrat
on your own. But if you want, go there if you're interested in it, because it is an amazing place. But again, you have to make all these hard decisions with the tourists because there's so much to see. If you arrive a couple days early, Montserrat is worth checking out. It's covered in your book, and it's easy to get there with public transportation. Okay, it has been so great to have you here. I want to remind you that we're open until 7 o'clock in our shop down the street. Don't forget to pick up your gift DVD about Spain as you come in. Let's thank our guides for their help, and happy travels. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
That was Rick Steves talking about our Best of Spain, Barcelona, Madrid, and Basque Country tours. Up next at 3:30 Pacific time, Steve Smith will be here to talk about our assortment of France tours. But first, let's spend a few minutes with our two Rick Steves Spain guides. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
And so first off, let me ask a couple questions to you. This is Francisco Glaria. Welcome to Test Drive a Tour Guide.
Welcome.
Can you please just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and which tours you lead?
Okay, I'm Francisco, and I am from the Basque Country. I was born in Pamplona, as I said, the crazy city of the running of the bulls. And what I guide is the Basque Country tour.
The Basque Country tour. Great. And can you describe some experiences on the Basque Country tour and how they might surprise people that go with you?
One of the moments I like the most is when we go for tapas, when we go for pinchos. We call them pinchos. Everybody's a little bit overwhelmed by it because, especially American tourists or American people, you are very body conscious that this is my space.
That's
and
true.
You don't cross the line. You have very direct eye contact,
Yes.
but you don't touch. Well, in Spain, we touch a lot. When you go for tapas, you have to touch people if you want to eat.
Oh.
So what I normally do is I stay outside, I explain what they have to do, and I let them go inside. So it is a very magical moment because the people that are very driven, they go for it and they order whatever. Until they're a little bit shy, they're like, whoa, by the second glass of wine, everybody's happy and everybody goes into it. And it's a lot of fun. It is great. It's a great moment. It's one of the moments that the group becomes a group. It's a great moment of people helping people, and it's very fun. And once they relax, it's perfect.
So can you paint the scene a little bit for us? You walk into like a small bar type setting with, paint the scene of what this
you have
looks
to
like.
imagine a counter that is like 10 meters long, and there are 1,000 different types of tapas, and there are like 7 waiters inside screaming to people, what do you want, what do you want? And you have to cut one guy and say, I want one red wine, and I want that tapa and that tapa. By the time you said that, the guy's gone.
The guys.
This is like-
Now, you're not supposed to pick it up yourself.
You are supposed to, once they give you a plate. So they give you a plate, they give you the drink, and then you pick up whatever you want, and that is the moment to show the waiter what you got, and maybe they will get some out of your plate. That means that they have to be warm up, and then you pay, and then you go somewhere else and you eat them.
So you're not eating unless you get in there and elbow your way up to the bar.
Yes. I
I
always say
see.
that you have to fight for your food. It's like, you're nice and relaxed. No, not here. You have to fight for food.
Well, thank goodness they have you to lead them, or else they'd be sitting in the back of the restaurant
Yes.
hungry.
It is fun. It's very, very fun.
That's
And,
great.
we go to 3-4 different places, and people love it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, is there a day on the Basque tour? Well, I guess there is a day on the Basque tour where you visit the town of Guernica, and that was horribly bombed by the fascists in the Spanish Civil War. How do you teach something like that?
Well, to me, that day, the day in Guernica, it is a very emotional day. It is a very strong day because my both grandparents, they fought in the Spanish Civil War, each one on the different side, so they hated each other. And everybody knows about the statistics, the numbers, the data, but I try to approach it more in a human way, what happened to my family and what happened to, real people, not just what you have read. And then you have the Guernica painting, the replica of the original painting that is in Madrid. And I try to explain that painting. When a lot of people, they see the painting, they think that Pablo Picasso was on LSD or something crazy, because it's really a crazy painting. But once you go seeing each image, it makes so much sense. And I always tell them that when you see the painting, the Guernica painting, you don't see any traces of the city. So you don't know what city it is. And I tell my tour members that they need to think of a moment they were in war. And nobody said, well, I've never been in a war. And I always tell them, yes, we have been in a war. And that was September 11. So when I say September 11, everybody like backs up and is like, whoa, yes, we were in war. And yes, we are represented in that painting. The power of that painting is that what we felt that day, each individual of us, anywhere in the world, we were there in that painting. So it's a very emotional day, and it's a very tough day.
Yeah, but obviously important to understand the history of the Basque region.
Yes, I mean, the thing is that Guernica was bombarded because for us we have the assembly of the Basque in Guernica. That is why Franco allowed to be bombarded that city. One of the funny things is that the only thing that survived of the bombing was the tree, the Guernica tree, which is what Franco wanted to be destroyed, because that is the representation of the Basque, that tree. So that tree survived, and it's still there.
That's still there. That's amazing. Well, thank you, Francisco. And let me introduce Javier Menor. Welcome to Test Drive a Tour Guide. Can you tell us where you're from and which tours you lead for Rick Steves?
I'm from Madrid, based in Madrid. I've been working there for ages, and I guided the Barcelona-Madrid 8 days and the Best of Spain 14 days.
Okay, wonderful. And originally, you led our tour groups only for a few hours on a local tour in Segovia. Now, as a lead guide for Rick Steves, you take our tour groups across Spain for almost 2 weeks. How has that relationship changed with your group when you just have a couple hours versus staying with them for 2 weeks?
Segovia is only a few miles from Madrid. That is pretty much where I work, all that area. And I wanted to work for the company Applied. And they said, hey, we need somebody to fill in here, Segovia, so I was so glad to accept. And for a couple of years, actually I still do it. When I'm not doing the tours, I still guide the Rick Steves tours in Segovia. And it was only a couple of hours, and I thought it was a fantastic people and groups, and I wanted more. And then I started leading my own tours, and there's a huge difference. Now it's day by day, you get to know the people more in depth, and I get to show them what Spain is about. Mm-hmm. And that is my main motivation.
Wow, that's exciting. That's exciting. Now, I don't think people necessarily understand how diverse Spain is. Can you help us understand that? And maybe let me give you an example. Let's say we're going out for an evening, and can you tell us what it's like to go out in Madrid versus Barcelona?
Yeah, but first let me tell you, so people understand how big we are. Even though we are one of the biggest countries in Europe, territory-wise, square miles, we're not even as big as Texas. We are the size of a small state in the US. The farthest you can drive in Spain from one end to the other should be around 700 miles. But we offer a great diversity. From the north, rainy, hilly, green north, to the dry south, the plateau, the middle of Castilla, and Madrid and Barcelona as the two main cities. Barcelona is facing the Mediterranean. Madrid is inland. Barcelona is closer to France, to Europe. Madrid is in the middle of the country and capital since the 1560s. Barcelona has been accepting, embracing new ideas since its foundation. And Madrid is a brand new city, only, well, as a city, as the capital in the 1500s. So the perception, I think, is the key to understand that diversity we have. But it's only that, perception, because they're great both cities and you can find lots of things in both places, but Barcelona is that, it's the beach. You can go with your shorts and enjoy drinks and snacks by the Mediterranean perception. Madrid is more classic. Madrid is the government and the royal palace and looks like more formal. So I think that it's only the perception, but you can find great places everywhere.
Now, are there special culinary dishes that are specific for Madrid versus Barcelona, for example?
Yeah. Barcelona, for example, everybody, one point or another, has to try the pan tumaca, which is the toasted bread.
Toasted bread?
Toasted bread.
Okay.
If you're with friends, don't. If you're with family or spouse, significant other, wrap some garlic on the bread,
Not if you're with your wife.
a bit of tomato, wrap it. Again, just wrap the tomato, olive oil, and if you have some good quality ham, just put it on top, a slice of it.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
But I think all the food in Spain has to do a lot of with all of the different cultures that we had. You know, we have the Mediterranean, all of these invasions coming from the Mediterranean. When you go to the southern part of Spain, you're going to find all of these more Moorish type of food. While when you go to the north, you're going to find more Celtic type of food. So in Spain, wherever you go, we always say that you eat very well, but always with completely different traditions. Okay, so it's the magic of Spain is that in each city, in each different, well, maybe we stopped in that moment of the culture. You know, we're Irish, we're Ottomans, we are Celtic. So we get all of this beautiful information coming from the countries and from the history.
Interesting. Well, you know, let me ask a question of both of you. Can you discuss a little bit about the variety of places you take people on the tours, and perhaps what are some of the favorites or turn out to be surprises to people?
Well, as I do the Basque tour, what I do, it's all the Basque country. And for most of the people, the highlight is probably San Sebastian, which is a very romantic city with 2 beaches, beautiful. The power of the sea. I mean, we have beaches, but it's always raining, so we barely use them. But the thing is that the power of the sea, it's very strong. In the Basque country, nature is power, and it's what gives us everything. So probably San Sebastian, it is the highlight for most of the people in our tour.
And great food and museums in San
Yes,
Sebastian too,
very
right?
good food, very, very good food.
And the
Top of mind.
diversity, it starts with the languages. For example, I speak Spanish, but Francisco can speak some Basque, which is a language with no equal at all in the world. It's nothing even close.
The Basque is impossible to learn. I mean, so
The accents, as you travel from one end to the other, it's like in the United States, Minnesota, New Orleans.
Right.
So it's really funny to see all those things, how they change in such a small territory.
Right, right. And so you find that your tour members are quite surprised by that.
They should be.
Yeah.
they are. I mean, when they see all of Spain, they're like, it's like tiny different countries inside of one.
Right,
Of
right.
Completely different, the people from the south, from the north, from the center, from Catalonia.
Yeah. Well, speaking about museums, are there a couple favorite museum moments that people should look forward to on this tour?
Well, in the Basque Country tour, it is the Guggenheim Museum of Modern Art, designed by Frank Gehry. It's the building itself, it's overwhelming. The art inside, it's very modern art, so if you like it, you love it. If you don't,
Yeah. You learn to appreciate it, right?
yes, we have very good local guides of Guggenheim Museum, and they really make you understand what is the modern art that we have.
Interesting.
And
you have your-
Madrid is maybe one of the best places to enjoy certain type of art. Prado Museum is one of the greatest classical art collection we have anywhere in Europe. Across the road, literally across the road, we have the Thyssen collection. It's an incredible collection. Used to be private, now belongs to the state. And just a 5-minute walk from those two, we have the Reina Sofia Museum, where we have the Guernica by Picasso, the painting.
If you want museums, you have to go to Madrid, and we call the Art Museum Mile, because it's like in 5-minute walk you have these 3 incredible museums where you can find Goya's, Rembrandt's, Picasso. It's incredible.
Now, if you had to try to convince, quickly, just have a minute, convince a prospective tour member to go to Spain over other places in Europe, what is so special about Spain? Just in a few
Spain
seconds.
is life. Spain is strength. Spain is power.
Yeah.
The way we embrace life.
Just the energy and the
The
spark of the
energy,
people.
the bars, the street.
Yeah. And it sounds like lots of opportunity for people to get to know the people and connect with the culture through this tour. That's really exciting.
That's the fun of it.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
That's
thank you
fun.
so much, Javier, and thank you so much, Francisco, for being here. It certainly makes me want to go to Spain, that's for
Well,
certain.
We'll see you there.
Well, and up next, we have Steve Smith. He's going to be taking us through all of the France itineraries, and I hope you'll stick around for us. Thanks so much.